Welcome back to Pathogen Murder Mystery. In this episode, we're going to talk about determining taxonomy from genomic reads. So in the last episode, we looked at read quality from those reads that were isolated from the pathogen. We have this pathogen that's spreading across Europe. We weren't sure what it was. They sent it off for sequencing. They've returned the reads to us. The first step was to look and see if those reads were any good, and they were good. So the next step is, do we know who it is? Well, you and I both know we know who it is because of lab tests, but let's pretend that we haven't done any of those lab tests yet, and we're just going to determine this from genomic sequencing. Are there ways to do that? And I tell you that, yes, there are. There are bioinformatics pipelines that can help you with that. They're all based on k-mers, and three of them, Clark, Centrifuge, and Kraken, work with nucleotide k-mers based on the DNA sequence. Kaiju works on protein level k-mers. And so I'm going to show you today how to use Kraken because I know of a free resource that has the pipeline there that makes it really easy to do. So you may be asking yourself, what the heck is a k-mer? And how does it even function in taxonomy? Well, a k-mer is just a word of DNA that is K long. Like in this example here, ATCGGTA, that's 7. That's a 7-mer. If I added a G to the end, that would be an 8-mer. Let me tell you, computers love k-mers because there's no ambiguity in them. Think about running a gel and you're trying to look at restriction fragments on that. And if you didn't run the gel long enough, they're all together. If you ran it too long, it doesn't look the way you expect. You might get confused, and you've got some human error in this. With the computers, there's no human error in this. They know how to match things pretty easily. Now think about all the data that's here too, because if you break up a genome that is 3 to 6 million base pairs into, if it's 7 mers, that's a whole lot of data. So you really need the computers to help you analyze this data. So Kraken, what I'm going to show you today, actually, it's Kraken 2, uses k-mers, and they use the lowest common ancestor approach. So what does that mean? Let's go back and remember a little bit of biology. You have the kingdom, phylum, class, order, family, genus, species. And so when you get all the data for all the genomes or whatever it is that Kraken has in the database, and it divides all those up into k-mers of a certain length, and I think it's 13 mers, but I'm not sure. And so then you can bin those, because if you know who they are, then you have a bunch of data at kingdom, as it builds up. So you have some data at the species, quite a bit actually, but there'll be more at the genus and more on the way up of unique k-mers to each taxonomy. And so when you're running your mystery reads against it, it gives an okay estimation. I'd say a pretty good estimation, but I like things that are dealing with whole contigs more, actually. But it's going to give us a taxonomy for each of those. And so we're going to do it once again at BVBRC because it's free, it's easy for people like me who can't code, and it's very quick. So let's just go do it. So here we are, and for this one, you go into Tools and Services, and you click on Taxonomic Classification here. And we've had our mystery reads, so you saw me do this with the FASTQ utility. So this time I'm just loading it from here because I've seen them before and moved it over rather than navigating through the workspace. It gives me some choices. Do I want to do species identification or microbiome analysis? Well, at this point, I just want to do species identification, but I'm glad to know there's this other option. And then do I want to do the BVBRC database or the Kraken 2 standard database? Well, I've made a lot of promises with you about seeing Kraken, so we'll choose that. I could choose a confidence interval. I'm just going to leave it at the default because I don't have any idea of what would be good. Save classified sequences or unclassified sequences. So what this is doing is when it's doing everything that hits something, it would save that into a big file, and also the things that didn't hit anything. So if you wanted to explore them further, we wanted to put it in the pathogen murder mystery, and we're going to call it mystery reads Kraken. Submit that. So it's telling us it's submitting the job. So rather than make you wait while I get this job to run, although we could probably see it here running, up here I haven't shown you this yet. I can filter on all services and go to taxonomic classification. You can see I've run this several times. I think I'll look at this one and view that. So here's the job for that. And remember, the green action bar allows you to see things. And so there are a number of reports here, but what I actually want is in this folder, and I click on that, and it's got two visualizations of the data that I like. One is called a corona visualization, and the other is called a Sankey. So I can click on the corona and then view it. And it's showing me, you can see this here, that most of it is Enterobacteriaceae. And down here, you can see that it's E. coli. So 95% of it is in Enterobacteriaceae. And within Enterobacteriaceae, because you can see it's a similar color, it's E. coli. So, if you wanted to see what eukaryotic, it's not much in there. But what it was, most of it is Homo sapiens in there and something else. I don't know what that is. But that's 82% of this small amount of reads. This came from a human. So these reads were isolated from this sick kid. So of course we're going to see some human reads. And often this is what bothers me about Kraken, but not too much. You notice that 0.3% of these small percent of reads, because it was a small percent of all reads. In fact, it says here that it was a total of 315 reads for all of Homo sapiens. One is leishmania. Yeah, I believe that. So it's just, sometimes you get some indications that aren't quite right. So then I want to see the Sankey. I like this visualization. This is something new that they added. So I highlight that and I click on the view, and down here, notice it's got division, kingdom, phylum, class, order, family, genus, species. Let's start at the bottom, E. coli. So it's showing us, if I moused over it, it says that there are 264,000 reads that mapped there. In Escherichia, it's 309,000 reads that mapped there. For Enterobacteriaceae, 3.53 million reads that map to that. So this, I like Corona because I can play with it a bit, but this is a really cool way to see this data. So I'm really glad that they added that in. So now I think we have a good sense. There are other things that are a lot smaller in this, and you can see the Homo sapien reads here, a very small amount of it. But this is giving us a good indication that we have E. coli. Just in summary, for our mystery pathogen taxonomy, we feel pretty good that it's E. coli. And there are two visualizations that one can do there, the Corona report and the Sankey report. There are also text documents where you can see how many reads were at each taxonomy level. This is just an easier way to see the data, to visualize it, which is friendlier to us as humans because we're very visually oriented. So we like these things, and we like things with colors too. Next episode, we're going to try to squeeze even more out of these reads. We're going to see if we can get a serotype just from reads alone. So I hope you'll join me next time, and thanks for coming. Bye.